Welcome back to Enablement Uncanned. Jack's out today, so it's just me, Mark, and the fantastic Sarah. We're taking over the show to do a deep dive into something pretty close to home for all of us.
We are talking about you, the solo enablement professional.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of our listeners out there know the feeling.
Oh, absolutely. Limited time, even more limited resources, always trying to make a real difference for our sales teams. And it's tough.
Yeah, and that's why we're here today, right?
Yeah.
Share some of the secrets, the insights we've picked up over the years, help each other not just survive, but actually thrive.
Exactly. Thrive. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about how to tackle that resource challenge head on. One of the most powerful things you have is actually right there with you. It's peer learning.
Peer learning.
Peer learning.
Right.
Think about it. You've got top performers on your team, and they're like walking treasure chests of knowledge.
Treasure chests. I like it.
They've already figured out how to close deals, how to build relationships, how to handle those really tough objections. And that's pure gold for everyone else.
So how do we get them to share that treasure? I can't just, ask them to spill the beans, can I?
No, but asking is a good start. But you've got to have a system. You need a way to capture all that great stuff and share it effectively.
Okay, what kind of system are we talking about here?
Well, that's where your sales readiness tools come in. Think of them as your treasure map. They can actually help you create a whole library of peer-generated content. Turn those best practices into short videos or, quick reference guides, even battle cards.
So new reps could actually watch a top performer navigate a tough negotiation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like having a mentor on demand.
That's pretty powerful. Okay, I'm sold on the peer learning. But even with that, there's just so much to do. How do you decide what to focus on when everything feels mission critical?
Oh, I remember those days. It's like you're drowning in content requests and you're trying to get new hires up to speed and you just feel like you're constantly playing catch up.
Yeah.
That's the classic solo enabler dilemma. You can't possibly do everything. You really can't. And trying to, it just leads to burnout. So what do? Ruthless prioritization.
Okay, ruthless prioritization. I like the sound of it.
Pick one key priority for sales efficiency and then one for sales effectiveness.
1, 2, punch. I like it. But what does that look like in the real world? Give us an example.
Okay, let's say you've got a ton of new reps coming in. Your efficiency focus might be to really streamline that onboard process.
Make it super smooth.
Exactly. Get them ramped up and making money faster. That might mean, creating some killer automated workflows, using just-in-time micro-learning, or making sure they have a clear path to those early wins.
Smart. Now, what about that second priority, the effectiveness piece?
Let's say there's a new product launching. Your effectiveness priority could be to make sure the whole sales team is laser focused on that launch. So, mastering the messaging, understanding the value prop, handling objections like a pro. That could mean developing a specific training program, maybe creating some super targeted battle cards, or even just coaching the reps on those critical conversations.
So we've got our two priorities, laser focus, and then we unleash the awesomeness. I'm into it. But, let's be honest, there are only so many hours in the day. And that's where I think the right technology can really be a game changer. I saw a stat recently. It said that 57% of companies using sales tech effectively are just better at training and development.
I know. It just shows you how much of a difference the right tech can make, especially when you're a solo act. We're talking about tools that can help you create content, scale your training, even analyze data to figure out where you're going to have the biggest impact.
Everyone's talking about AI these days. Is it really the magic bullet everybody says it is?
I think we need to cut through the hype a little bit. AI is not here to replace you. It's here to help you, to make you even better. Think of it as your secret weapon. It can do things like, analyze your content library and suggest new pieces based on maybe gaps you haven't noticed or trends you need to be following.
So you're saying no more brainstorming content ideas from scratch?
Exactly. It gives you a massive head start.
I could definitely use a few extra hours in the day.
Absolutely. It's all about working smarter, not harder. Right? And remember, even though you're solo, you don't have to go it alone. Build your enablement army.
Okay, an enablement army. How do I build an army when I'm the only one officially in the enablement department? It's like recruiting from scratch.
You need the right strategy. It's about finding champions in different departments, in sales, marketing, product, leadership. You got to turn that buy-in into action. Create a network of people who are just as passionate about enablement as you are.
I like where this is going.
Hmm.
But tactically, what are some of the first steps?
First rule, know your audience. Different stakeholders have different priorities, and they definitely speak different languages. So, like, when you're talking to the CFO, you need to frame enablement in terms of, hard numbers, ROI, things like, increased revenue, shorter sales cycles, better customer lifetime value.
They love those numbers. What about getting those sales managers on board?
You've got to show them how enablement can help their team hit quota and honestly make their lives a little easier.
I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Right. So focus on things like, how your programs can boost productivity, accelerate onboarding, increase those win rates, and show them the data. I mean, are reps closing deals faster? Are they spending more time actually selling? Let the numbers tell the story.
Data-driven storytelling. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, the content creation piece, that can feel like a constant battle. And when you're the only one on the front lines, it can be overwhelming. How do we avoid getting crushed by the content beast?
That's where you've got to get creative and tap into those internal resources. Don't think of yourself as the sole content creator. Think of yourself as the conductor. You're bringing all the best musicians together to create something amazing.
Okay, conductor, I like that. Who are these musicians we're bringing in?
The rock stars, your SMEs, the subject matter experts, they have that deep knowledge about, specific products or markets or customer challenges.
Right, but SMEs are busy people. How do I convince them to join my band?
Make it a win-win. Explain how their input is going to help the sales team be more successful, which, let's be honest, benefits the whole company. Highlight how it's going to raise their profile, show off their expertise, even position them as thought leaders. And let's be real, a little bit of recognition never hurts. Thank them, give them credit for their contributions, celebrate their wins.
All right, SMEs are officially part of the Army.
Mm.
Let's talk about onboarding. It's like boot camp for new recruits, right? But those traditional programs, they can be so long and arduous. There's got to be a better way.
You're reading my mind. I am all about the agile sales onboarding methodology. We're ditching boot camp for a series of targeted sprints. Sprints, each one focused on mastering a specific set of skills or knowledge.
So, like, what would one of these onboarding sprints look like? Walk us through it.
Okay, let's say you're onboarding a brand new sales development rep. Their first, 2-week sprint could be all about prospecting, finding and qualifying those leads.
Lead generation 101.
Exactly. During that sprint, they're going to dive into micro-learning content on things like crafting great outreach messages, handling those initial objections, even using LinkedIn to research potential customers.
So they're getting the tools and knowledge they need to really hit the ground running. But it's not just about passive learning, right?
Absolutely not. We're talking about practice, feedback, the whole 9 yards. So you might have them do some role playing, get feedback from their peers, from their manager, maybe even record some practice videos for review.
That's great. But how do we know if it's actually working? How do we measure the success of this agile approach?
Metrics, metrics, metrics. Even with limited resources, you can be really smart about how you measure your impact. It boils down to asking the right questions. For me, it's always, are reps ready to sell? Are they doing the right activities? And are they producing the results we expect?
Those sound like pretty simple questions.
Yeah, but there's more to them than meets the eye. Let's take readiness. It's not enough to just look at whether or not they finished the training.
Right.
You've got to go deeper. Can they actually apply that knowledge in a real-world situation? So think about things like knowledge checks, role plays, simulations, even those practice videos with feedback. That's how you really gauge their readiness.
Okay, so it's not just checking a box. It's about making sure they can actually walk the walk.
Yeah.
What about the second question? Are they doing the right activities? How do we measure that?
You got to look at behaviors. Set clear benchmarks for the activities that align with your sales process and your goals. That might be the number of calls, the number of emails, demos, social media engagement. But whatever it is, it should be tailored to your specific sales cycle and your average deal size.
So we're not just measuring activity for activity's sake. We're making sure they're focusing on the things that really move the needle. Now, the big question, are they producing the results? That one seems pretty straightforward. Are they hitting quota, yes or no?
It's tempting to just focus on that final number, but there's a lot more nuance to it. Quota attainment's important, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. We need to look beyond just the outcome and examine those contributing factors. So things like Run rate productivity. Are they consistently building pipeline and moving deals forward? What about sales velocity? How quickly are those deals moving through the funnel? And those conversion rates at each stage.
So those deeper metrics give us a much clearer picture of their overall performance.
Exactly. It helps you figure out where they might need a little extra coaching or maybe some more enablement support.
This is great. Just those 3 questions, they unlock so much insight into how reps are actually doing. But even with the best metrics in the world, there's this one challenge that I think we all face as enablers: information overload. How do we make sure that everything we're teaching is actually sticking? I mean, people are bombarded with information these days.
That's like drinking from a fire hose.
Exactly. And,
Hmm.
a lot of those traditional training methods, they just add to the problem, trying to cram way too much information into these long sessions. Death by PowerPoint, right?
Oh, tell me about it. So what's the solution? Microlearning.
Okay, micro-learning.
Bite-sized, easy to digest chunks of information. Think, short videos, quick quizzes, interactive simulations, even just like little reference guides that they can access whenever they need them.
So we're talking about like swapping out the textbook for a stack of flashcards?
Exactly, and it works. The research shows that microlending can really improve how people learn and retain information. The Journal of Applied Psychology, they found that it makes the transfer of learning 17% more efficient.
17% more efficient. That's a pretty compelling argument for ditching those marathon training sessions.
Right. Plus, it's a lot easier to create those bite-sized pieces of content. Win-win for everyone.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're creating this great content. It's micro-sized, it's engaging. But how do we know it's the right content? That's where those content audits come in. I'll be honest, they don't sound like the most fun part of the job.
They might not be glamorous, but trust me, they are so important. It's like spring cleaning for your sales materials. You declutter, you refresh, you make sure everything is aligned with, where your buyers are in their journey and what your sales team actually needs. And you don't have to do it all at once. Start small, focus on a specific area or a stage in the buyer's journey.
So instead of tackling the entire content library at once, we might just start with, say, the materials that are used for prospecting calls.
Exactly. And then ask yourself, what are reps actually using at each stage? Is it effective? Are there any gaps? Do we have anything that's outdated and needs to be, retired? Talk to your sales team, get their feedback, look at the data. What are those conversion rates at each stage? You might be surprised by what you find.
It's not just about having content, it's about having the right content at the right time.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of involving the sales team in that process. I mean, they're the ones using it every day.
Absolutely. Your boots on the ground. You can even just do a quick survey. What content are they using? What's working? What's missing? What would make their lives easier? You'll get some great insights.
So let's say I've done my little micro audit, I've found some gaps, I've gotten some feedback from the team. What's next? Time to go into content creation mode.
Not so fast. Before you jump back into creating, remember 2 words: collaboration and leverage. You don't have to do it all yourself. This is where you bring in that enablement army we talked about, partner with marketing, tap into those subject matter experts, get the sales team involved.
Time to rally the troops. But seriously, how do you effectively collaborate with other departments when everyone's so busy with their own stuff?
You have to make it a win for everyone involved, and that starts with understanding what each department cares about. So for marketing, it's all about brand consistency and generating leads. SMEs, they want to share their knowledge and be seen as the experts. And your sales leaders, they want their teams to hit quota.
Find that common ground.
Exactly. So when you're talking to marketing, you highlight how, aligned content can strengthen the brand and create a better experience for the customer. With SMEs, you emphasize how their input is going to help the sales team be more successful, which ultimately, helps the company. And of course, you recognize their expertise, give them credit. And for the sales leaders, show them how this is all going to lead to better equipped reps, faster onboarding, more closed deals.
It's like we're assembling a team of superheroes with all their unique powers,
Oh,
all fighting for sales enablement justice.
love it. But even with the best team in place, content creation, it can still be a lot of work. I mean, there are just so many different formats and channels these days.
It's a jungle out there.
It is. But the good news is you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. One of the smartest things you can do is repurpose existing content. I guarantee you have a ton of material already. presentations, documents, blog posts, even just internal emails, all of that can be transformed into new formats or used in different contexts.
So we're talking about like slicing and dicing what we already have.
Exactly. So, let's say you have a fantastic PowerPoint presentation that you've been using internally to train people on a new product. Why not turn that into a series of micro-learning videos, each one focusing on a different feature or benefit? Or maybe you have a blog post that's performing really well. You can turn that into a downloadable guide that your reps can share with prospects.
Oh, that.
And you can pull out those key talking points from that same blog post and turn them into a cheat sheet for your reps to use on sales calls.
I love how that approach not only saves time, but also just keeps everything consistent. The messaging, the branding. It's like creating this whole content ecosystem where everything is connected and working together.
Exactly.
But what about technology? What role can technology play in all of this? How can it help streamline that content creation process?
Technology is our friend here. There are so many great tools that can help you automate tasks, create professional-looking content, even personalize things for your reps.
So even if I don't have like a degree in graphic design or video editing, I can still create stuff that looks good and sounds good.
Absolutely. And there are tools that can actually tailor the content experience to each individual rep based on their role, their sales stage, even just how they prefer to learn. It's like having a content concierge.
That's pretty cool. So technology can really be our sidekick in all of this. Okay, so we got the content piece covered. Let's talk about coaching. I mean, that's where the rubber really meets the road, right? Helping reps develop those skills and those behaviors that ultimately lead to better results. But when you're solo, it's hard to find the time for individualized coaching.
I hear you. Coaching is so important, but it can be super time consuming, especially when you're juggling all the other things. But here's where technology can really be your best friend. It can help you scale your coaching efforts and actually provide personalized support to every rep.
Okay, tell me more about this. What kind of technology are we talking about?
Think about how much time you spend, reviewing call recordings, giving feedback on presentations, role-playing different scenarios.
A lot of time. Too much time. And even then, I feel like I'm not able to give everyone the attention they deserve.
That's where those AI-powered coaching platforms come in. They can analyze call recordings, pinpoint areas for improvement, even offer coaching tips. And they do it all so much faster than you ever could manually.
Wow. So instead of spending hours listening to call recordings, I can have AI do the heavy lifting. And then I can focus my time on those really high-impact coaching conversations.
Exactly. It's like having a virtual coaching assistant. Let's say you're using a video coaching platform, right? Reps can record themselves, giving a pitch or handling an objection. The AI analyzes their performance, provides feedback on things like their tone of voice, their body language, are they using the right messaging?
So it's like having a personal coach for every rep, even if you can't physically be there with them.
Exactly. And that feedback, it's based on data, it's objective, it can help them see things they might not even be aware of.
I'm sold. Sign me up for the AI coaching. Seems like such a win for both enablement and the sales team. Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to talk about another essential tool for solo enablers, the sales readiness platform. They sound great in theory, but I'm not really sure what they do or how they can benefit someone like me.
They're amazing. They're like the Swiss Army knife of enablement. They can help you with everything, content, training, coaching, all in one place. They streamline your workflow, they automate tasks, they give you the data you need to measure your impact.
So it's like having a command center for all things enablement.
Exactly. And they're cloud-based, so you can access them from anywhere, which is perfect when you're always on the go.
But let's get specific. How can it support a solo enabler's day-to-day work?
Well, take onboarding. That can be a full-time job in itself. A good sales readiness platform, it can automate that entire process from, assigning training courses, tracking progress, even providing personalized content recommendations. And you can manage all of that in one central location. You get real-time visibility into, how everyone's doing.
Okay, now we're talking. That would save so much time. What about content creation? How can these platforms help with that?
A lot of them have built-in authoring tools that make it easy to create and manage all types of content. Presentations, documents, videos, interactive simulations, and they often have pre-built templates and frameworks so you can be more efficient and make sure your messaging and branding stay consistent.
So it's not just creating content. It's about managing it, tracking its use, making sure it's actually effective.
Exactly. They've also got really powerful analytics that give you insights into how your content is being used,
Wow.
what's resonating, what's actually driving results.
Love it. Because that data is how we prove our value, right?
Yeah.
It helps us make those smart decisions about our programs and our overall strategy.
Couldn't agree more. And these platforms, they're also great for collaboration. You can share content with other stakeholders, work on things together, get feedback from the sales team.
So it's not just a tool for solo enablers. It's something that can bring the whole organization together.
Right. And that's what makes them so powerful. They help you do more with less, streamline your workflows, and ultimately empower your sales team to be more successful.
All right, you've convinced me. Sales readiness platforms are officially on my wish list. But before we move on, I want to touch on something that I think a lot of us struggle with as solo enablers. Staying motivated, staying inspired when you're, the only enablement person in the whole company, it can be lonely.
Oh, I know that feeling, like you're fighting an uphill battle all alone. It's really important to find ways to connect with the larger enablement community.
So how do we do that? How do we stay energized about our work?
Network, network, network. Go to industry events, join those online communities, connect with people on LinkedIn. Sharing your experiences, your struggles, your wins with other people who get it, it can be incredibly motivating.
It's like having a support group.
Exactly. And you've got to stay up to date. Enablement is always evolving, so make time to read industry publications, follow the thought leaders, attend those virtual events.
There are so many great resources out there these days.
There really are. And don't underestimate the power of self-reflection. Taking some time to think about your wins, your challenges, your goals. That can help you stay focused and motivated when things get tough.
Journaling, meditation, even just going for a walk, it can really help clear your head and get you back on track.
Exactly. Remember, you're in this role for a reason. You're passionate about helping salespeople succeed, and you're making a real difference, both for them and for your company. Don't ever forget that.
Okay, that was inspiring. I feel energized and ready to tackle those solo enablement challenges. Well, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be back in a flash to continue our deep dive. So grab another cup of coffee and get ready for part 2.
And we are back, ready to dig even deeper into the world of solo enablement. We were just talking about content audits, and I think it's worth circling back to, especially for those of you out there who are juggling a million things.
I'll admit, when we first mentioned content audits, I kind of cringed a little bit. Just sounds so tedious. But the more we talk about it, I realize it's not about creating more work for ourselves. It's about working smarter.
Exactly. It's about making sure the content you have is actually aligned with what your team needs. And remember, you don't have to do everything at once. You can start small, focus on a specific area, and build from there.
Okay, so let's say I'm ready to tackle this micro audit. Where do I even begin? Do I just start combing through every file on my computer?
Hold on. Take a deep breath. You don't have to drown yourself in spreadsheets. Start by thinking about the buyer's journey, those key stages that your prospects go through, and then focus on the content that your reps are using at each stage.
So if I'm focusing on the discovery call stage, I'd be looking at things like, the questions they're asking, the presentations they're using, maybe the follow-up emails.
You got it. And then you ask yourself, is this stuff effective? Is it helping them move deals forward? Are there gaps? Anything outdated that needs to be, tossed out? Talk to your sales team, get their feedback, and analyze the data. Are they struggling to move deals from one stage to the next? That might be a sign that your content needs a little refresh.
It really is about having the right content at the right time. And I love the idea of involving the sales team in this process. I mean, they're the ones out there using it every day.
Absolutely. They're your boots on the ground. Use their knowledge. You can even do a simple survey. Ask them, what content are you using? What's working? What's missing? What would make your life easier? I guarantee you'll get some great insights.
Okay, I've done my micro audit. I've found some gaps. I've got some feedback from the team. Now what? Time to go into content creation mode, right?
But before you go into full-on production mode, remember those 2 magic words? Collaboration and leverage. You are not a one-person show. Bring in that enablement army. Partner up with marketing. Tap into those SMEs. Involve the sales team.
All right, time to deploy the troops. But seriously, how do I collaborate with other departments effectively when everyone is already so busy with their own stuff?
It's all about making it a win for everybody. Start by really understanding what matters to each department. So, marketing, they're all about brand consistency, generating leads. SMEs, They want to share what they know. They want to be seen as the experts. And your sales leaders, they just want those teams to hit quota.
Find that common ground.
Right. So when you're talking to marketing, you highlight how aligned content is going to strengthen that brand message and create a better customer experience. With the SMEs, you emphasize how their input is going to help the sales team be more successful, which of course, benefits the whole company. And you give them credit. You recognize their expertise. And then with the sales leaders, you show them how this whole collaborative approach is going to lead to better equipped reps, faster onboarding, more closed deals.
Okay, so we're assembling this team of superheroes, each with their own special powers, fighting for sales enablement justice.
I love it. But even with the best team, content creation can be tough. I mean,
Yeah.
there are just so many formats, so many channels to think about.
It's a jungle out there.
It really is. But you don't have to start from scratch every time. One of the smartest things you can do is repurpose. I guarantee you, you have a ton of stuff already. Presentations, documents, blog posts, internal emails even. All of that can be transformed, used in different ways.
But we're talking about like slicing and dicing what we already have. Give me an example.
Let's say you've got a great PowerPoint presentation that you've been using internally to train people on a new product. Well, why not turn that into a series of micro-learning videos? Each video focuses on a different feature or a benefit. Or maybe you have a blog post that's doing really well. You could turn that into a downloadable guide that your reps can share with prospects.
Oh, I like that.
And you can take those key talking points from that same blog post and turn them into a cheat sheet for your reps to use while they're on calls.
That's smart. That way the messaging stays consistent, the branding stays consistent. It's like creating a whole content ecosystem. Everything's connected.
Exactly.
But what about technology? I feel like technology has to play a role in all of this. How can it help us streamline that content creation process?
Oh, technology can be a huge help. There are so many tools now that can automate tasks, help you create really professional-looking content, even personalize the experience for your reps.
So you're saying even if I don't have like a fancy degree in graphic design, I can still create stuff that looks good, sounds good.
You got it. There are tools now that can tailor the content experience to each individual rep, based on their role, their sales stage, even their learning preferences. It's like having a content concierge.
That's amazing. Technology can be our secret weapon.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the content piece. Let's shift gears for a minute and talk about coaching. I mean, that's where the magic really happens, right? Helping those reps develop the skills and behaviors that ultimately lead to better results. But when you're a solo enabler, finding the time for that one-on-one coaching, it can feel impossible.
I know. Coaching is so important, but it can be really time-consuming, especially when you're trying to do everything else. This is another area where technology can be super helpful. It can help you scale your coaching efforts and actually provide personalized support to every rep on the team.
All right, I'm intrigued. What kind of technology are we talking about here?
Think about how much time you spend right now, listening to call recordings, giving feedback on presentations, role-playing different scenarios.
Oh, it's a lot. And I
It's
feel
like-
like I can never get to everyone.
Right. And that's where these AI-powered coaching platforms can be a lifesaver. They can analyze those call recordings, pinpoint areas where reps can improve, even offer specific coaching tips. And they can do it all in a fraction of the time it would take you to do it manually.
So you're saying, like, instead of me spending hours listening to call recordings, I can let AI do the heavy lifting.
Exactly. And then you can focus on those really high-value coaching conversations.
Okay, so walk me through this. How does it work?
Well, let's say you're using a video coaching platform, for example. Reps can record themselves, delivering a pitch or maybe handling an objection, and then the AI analyzes their performance, gives feedback on things like their tone of voice, their body language, whether they're using the right messaging. It's like having a personal coach for each rep.
That's pretty amazing, especially when you can't physically be there with them.
And that feedback is based on data. It's objective, so it can really help them see things, that they might not be aware of. Blind spots.
Okay, this AI coaching thing, I'm starting to see the appeal. It seems like it would benefit both the enablement team and the sales team as well.
Absolutely. It's all about working smarter, not harder. Right?
Exactly. Okay, before we wrap up this part of our conversation, I want to touch on something else that I know a lot of solo enablers rely on. Sales readiness platforms. They sound great, but I'm not really sure what they do or how they can benefit someone like me.
Oh, sales readiness platforms they're like the Swiss Army knife of enablement. They're an all-in-one solution. They can help you with content, training, coaching, all in one central hub. streamline your workflow, automate tasks, give you the data you need.
So it's kind of like a command center for everything enablement.
Pretty much. And
Yeah.
because they're cloud-based, you can access them from anywhere, which is super helpful when you're always on the go.
Okay, that's cool. But how does it actually work? Like,
Hmm.
how can it support a solo enabler's day-to-day work? Give me an example.
Well, let's say you're onboarding a new rep, which, as we know, can be a full-time job in itself. A good sales readiness platform, it can automate that whole process. Assigning training, tracking their progress, even delivering personalized content recommendations. And you can manage all of that in one place, and you've got real-time visibility into how they're doing.
That would be a lifesaver. What about content creation? Can it help with that too?
Yeah, a lot of them have built-in authoring tools so you can create and manage different kinds of content, presentations, documents, videos, even interactive simulations. And a lot of them even have like pre-built templates and frameworks, which really helps with efficiency and keeps your messaging and branding consistent.
So it's not just about creating the content, it's about managing it, tracking how it's being used, making sure it's actually effective.
Right. And they have really sophisticated analytics, so you can see how your content is being used, how reps are engaging with it, and what's actually moving the needle.
I love that data piece because that's how we prove our value.
Yeah.
It helps us make smarter decisions about, the programs we're creating, our overall strategy.
Couldn't agree more. And a lot of these platforms are really great for collaboration too. You can share content with stakeholders, work on things together, get feedback from the sales team. You can create workspaces for different teams, assign roles and permissions.
So it's not just a tool for solo enablement, it's really something that can help the whole organization work better together.
Exactly. And that's why these platforms are so powerful, especially for companies that don't have a huge enablement team. They help you do more with less, streamline those workflows, and just empower the whole sales team to be more successful.
I'm convinced. I'm putting a sales readiness platform on my wish list.
Huh.
But before we move on, I want to touch on something that I think a lot of solo enablers struggle with. Staying motivated, staying inspired when you're, the only enablement person in the company. It can be kind of lonely.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. Like you're fighting an uphill battle all by yourself. It's really important to find ways to connect with other enablement professionals. Remind yourself that you're not alone.
So how do we do that? How do we stay energized about our work? What are your tips?
Well, first of all, network, network, network. Go to industry events, join those online communities, connect with people on LinkedIn. Sharing your experiences, your challenges, your wins with people who get it, it can be incredibly motivating.
It's like having a built-in support system.
Exactly. And stay up to date. The enablement world is constantly changing, so make time to read, industry publications, follow those thought leaders, attend webinars,
There are some great resources out there.
so many. And don't forget about the power of self-reflection. Take some time to think about your wins, your challenges, where you want to go. That can help you stay focused and motivated when things get tough.
Journaling, meditation, even just taking a walk. Sometimes you just need to clear your head.
Absolutely. And remember why you're doing this. You're passionate about helping salespeople be successful, and you're making a real difference, both for them and for your organization. Don't ever forget that.
Okay, feeling inspired, re-energized, ready to tackle those solo enablement challenges. But we've got to take another quick break. We'll be right back to wrap up our deep dive. So grab another cup of coffee and get ready for part 3.
We are back for the final stretch of our solo enablement deep dive.
I'm feeling pumped,
Yeah.
ready to tackle those last few miles.
I love the energy. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's one more mindset shift that I want to share that can be really powerful, especially for solo enablers.
Okay, a mindset shift. Lay it on me.
Instead of just thinking of yourself as a solo enabler, think of yourself as the CEO of your own enablement business.
Whoa, okay, now you've got my attention.
Imagine this. Your customer is the sales team. You are providing them with this incredibly valuable service, enablement. You've got to be strategic about your resources, your budget, your marketing, just like a CEO.
I like it. I'm suddenly picturing myself in a power suit with a briefcase.
It really gives you that sense of ownership. It empowers you to make decisions, take risks, and build a program that really works for your team.
Okay, I'm buying it. How do we put this CEO mindset into practice? Where do we start?
Start with your brand. What's the unique value proposition of your enablement program? What makes you stand out? What do you want to be known for?
It's a great question.
Maybe you're known for your creative use of tech or your knack for creating really engaging content, or maybe you're amazing at building relationships with the sales leaders. Whatever it is, Own it. Make it a core part of your enablement brand.
Okay, I'm starting to feel more confident, more strategic already. What's next?
Marketing. How are you going to communicate the value of what you do to the sales team? How are you going to get them excited and buy in?
Hmm, get creative. I could do like an internal newsletter, highlight enablement wins, or maybe host a lunch and learn to show off new resources and tools, or even launch like a fun internal campaign, a little friendly competition to get everyone involved.
I love those ideas. Remember, you are selling enablement to your internal customers. Make it compelling, make it relevant, and make it fun.
And just like any good CEO, we have to be mindful of our budget. Even if we don't have like a formal budget for enablement, we can still be smart about how we spend money and get creative with those resources.
You're thinking like a CEO. Look for ways to partner with other departments, maybe to share costs or use those free resources like online communities, webinars, open source tools.
Be resourceful. This CEO mindset, it's brilliant. I think it's something every solo enabler should embrace.
Couldn't agree more. It's such a powerful way to approach the role. You really take ownership of your success.
This has been fantastic. We went from feeling, overwhelmed and under-resourced to like empowered and ready to conquer the world of solo enablement. I'm walking away with so many great ideas.
That's awesome. Remember, you're a force to be reckoned with, even if you're a team of one. You have the power to transform your sales team and really drive results for your organization.
So to all those solo enablement superheroes out there, keep fighting the good fight. We're all in this together.
And remember, Enablement Uncanned is always here to support you. Thanks for tuning in.
But catch you next time.